Good afternoon. I'm Richard Reisman, the publisher of the Orange County Business Journal, and it's my pleasure to welcome you this afternoon and to congratulate all of this year's nominees. The Business Journal, along with Cal State Fullerton Center for Family Business, is proud to celebrate this, our 13th anniversary of the Family-Owned Business Awards. And I believe it may be the longest-running Business Journal-sponsored Family-Owned Business Awards program in the country, which is a great tribute to the great families of Orange County.
Now, it is my pleasure to introduce today's keynote speaker. Howdy S. Holmes is the President and Chief Executive Officer of Jiffy Mixes. Now, after successfully competing in the world of motorsports for 20 years, Howdy returned to his family business in 1987. Now, as a race car driver, he won championships. He was the Rookie of the Year at the Indy 500 in 1979. How about that? And he competed in a total of 6 Indy 500 events. So, quite some accomplishments on the track. As a businessman, Howdy operated motorsports marketing company and an advertising company. He authored an award-winning book called Formula Car Technology, and he was a contributing editor for several magazines and newspapers. And he was also a commentator on racing for ESPN. Upon returning to Jiffy Mixes in 1987, Howdy led a transformation of a 100-year-old family business by successfully introducing a new strategic vision. Today, Jiffy Mixes is known for the quality and value of its market-leading retail-prepared baking mixes, and the company remains family-owned. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Howdy Holmes.
Thank you. It's okay that I stand out here, right? Normally the podiums are not clear and you wouldn't be able to see that. I usually stand on a step so that people can see me. But you know, we had a great meal, and I generally don't eat before I talk, and so if you saw, it wasn't that I knew what was on the menu because it was great. I just couldn't have it. I get pretty nervous talking to groups, and so my companion, Tiffany, you're going to let me know when there's 5 minutes. I have a tendency to be a real chatterbox and so on. So just to get this started, you heard that I was a race car driver. Any racing fans out there? Yeah? Does anybody know why the best race car drivers are short? There's 3 reasons. First reason is there's a definite relationship between horsepower and weight. The second reason is when you're small, you take up less space, so the designers can put more weight towards the center of gravity. You're sitting on the center of gravity. And the third reason is when you're short, it takes less time for the impulse to go from the brain to the foot. From the brain to the foot, yeah. Okay, so listen, they gave me 17 minutes or something like that, and our company is over 125 years old. I am the 3rd generation under the brand Jiffy, and one little advertising even moment. Please take the boxes of Jiffy home. Our stuff's so easy, even a man can do it. So that's not a problem. 4th generation in the location of Chelsea, and 8th generation in the flour milling business. So I understand family businesses. This is really good therapy for me to talk about family businesses. I'm probably more candid than most speakers that you've run into before. And I like to talk about family businesses as it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And, you know, families are all about keeping the peace, right? So as a result, we don't always tell the truth. But congratulations to all the nominees, congratulations to the winners, and congratulations for the 13th year in a row. As I say, I travel around the country a lot and speak to family business organizations, and there isn't any run that's 13 years in length that has Family Business Awards, so you're all to be congratulated. I'm going to applaud you. So let me start by trying to share our story a little bit. As I said, family businesses I grew up with in the business, and we would talk at the dinner table about the family business and things like that. Now, I have to put this in context. This is back in the 50s, not the 1850s, but the 1950s. And in those days, you know, the family meal was something that everybody looked forward to. I mean, it was the Leave It to Beaver, you know, with, anybody remember that, Leave It to Beaver? They all look way too young to realize what that was. Well, let me try to explain. People would have dinner at 6 o'clock, and everybody would share what their day was all about, and that was nice. That's kind of gone by on the wayside. So as a young kid, I worked at Chelsea Milling Company, and of course, I started at the bottom, did all the goofy jobs, and in family businesses, of course, if you're lucky enough to have outside employees, and in our case, we had more, you know, non-family members than we did family members. The idea there is to kind of prove yourself. And of course, often if you're the SOB, yes, son of boss, for those of you who were confused and thought something else, shame on you. But I was one of those too. Yeah, kind of snotty kid, you know, and thought I knew it all, and good athlete in high school, played on 2 out of 3 years state championship hockey team, and you know, I'm kind of a little full of myself. In fact, I think I still am a little full of myself, sharing all this stuff with you. As Tiffany asked me before, well, could you please forward your speech? I said, I don't do that. I just never know what I'm going to say, and you're finding out absolute truth that I don't know what I'm going to say. So as long as I hear some laughing, things are good. No tomatoes, please. So, young kid, worked in the family business. You know, my father was in charge. The background of our family business is my great-grandfather started it. He came from a little town, Dexter, Michigan, to Chelsea. That's a total distance of about 6 miles. And he became a partner in what was then called the Chelsea Roller Mills. There were 9 different principals, and it started in 1887. My grandfather, Harmon, bought out the other principals and changed the name to Chelsea Milling Company in 1901. My grandfather, as a point of difference, ran the company from 1911 to 1936, at which time, at a young age of 51, he was killed in an accident at the plant. My father and his identical brother, at the ripe old age of 23, came into the business then, along with their newly widowed mother, my grandmother. And, you know, like a lot of families, sibs sometimes get along and sometimes they didn't. Well, my father and uncle, identical twins, they didn't get along at all. They were smart enough to kind of divide the business, and they did a wonderful job. My grandmother stayed for 4 years, and off we went. And so there was no succession. This is important. There was no succession between G1 and G2, because my great-grandfather was really an entrepreneur, and he was involved in a lot of businesses, and Chelsea Milling Company was just one of the ones that he owned. My grandfather was really the first president of the family, and then my father and my uncle. And so when I came back in 1987, what I saw was a company that had a great brand name, commercial time, Jiffy. Great brand name, really good, loyal employees, but we hadn't had a price increase in 8 years. And I think those of us that run businesses, you know that things don't usually go down in costs. So I had spent this 20 years in the racing business. You heard a little bit about having a marketing business, an advertising business, but really the driving was the motivation. It was a boyhood dream. Other than Christmas, the one thing my family did together was we would go to the Indy 500 each year. And anybody been to the Indy 500 out there? I'm sure you've heard about it. In those days, there were 400,000 people there. So I saw my first race when I was 10 years old, and I am the eldest of 5. So I look back very fondly about these trips of, we would leave Ann Arbor, Michigan. everybody knows Ann Arbor, right? It's much like Berkeley. Ann Arbor, that's 11 square miles surrounded by reality. Berkeley, Ann Arbor, same. Am I making any friends here? Okay, so I was telling you, I came back after this great boyhood dream career, and that was a difficult thing to do, because if you are lucky enough, and I think most of you are, that are doing something that you're very passionate about, it's really hard to leave. And I'll bet you that all of you work really, really, really long hours. But it doesn't seem that way because you enjoy it, right? You just do whatever needs to be done. That's one of the hallmarks of family businesses, very different than publicly held companies. You know, as family-held businesses, we look for the long term. And we actually outperform publicly held businesses by 3 or 4% on the bottom line, especially during difficult times. You know, we have a tendency to be a little bit more frugal than most, not as much leveraged as publicly held companies. And oh, by the way, do you realize that family businesses are responsible for 63% of the GDP? Did you know that one? Did you realize that family businesses employ more people than anyone? So, you know, we are the backbone of America, and I was happy to see that we did God Bless America. That was, you know, heartwarming to me. So I grew up in this family business, pursued my boyhood dream, came back, and, you know, I thought I knew a few things, and I was devastated as to what I saw. Still saw the little blue and white boxes, but there was no preventative maintenance. We hadn't had a price increase in 8 years, and my father was very much in charge, had all the stock at the time. That didn't seem to hold me back much. You know, I am very opinionated with my ideas, and I think that that's an important thing. I perhaps express them more often than I should, but I think that's why I get asked to talk, because in family businesses, you know, you have to talk about the tough stuff. So I remember a very eventful day when my father, I bless his heart, love him dearly, we're standing toe to toe, and my father had a great saying about the family business. He said, "Son, we're in business to provide Mrs. Smith," and what he meant by Mrs. Smith was the consumer. We're in business to provide Mrs. Smith, you know, a value. That's a combination of the highest quality ingredients and the best price. And I said, you know, toe to toe. Well, he was taller, so I was maybe toe to his throat, and he kind of looked down at me. But I said, you know what, Dad, I believe in that. But if we're not on the shelf, then Mrs. Smith is not going to be able to choose us. So that was one of those kind of defining moments. Also, in the early days of my return, there were some other family members in the business, and not too surprising, there were differences of opinion. And essentially, there are two groups. There's a group of family business that believes that ownership equals leadership. I'm not in that camp, by the way. And there's the other group that goes, no, ownership is something you inherit. Leadership is something you have to earn. So with problems, there are solutions. But when you have a paradox, when you have opposite views, and they're just never going to see eye to eye, a paradox, the best you can do with that is to manage it. And that's one thing family businesses get very good at, is managing other people. We all say that people are our most important asset, but there is nothing more critical than a family business that produces, you know, the difficult tension and the love and the conflicts that take place in family businesses. And if we can see our way through that, then by any measure, we're always more successful, and we care more for our employees. We do a better job on any calibration you want to look at financially or anything. So a defining moment for my father, and I should share with you that as a race car driver, you know, we are all sort of products of our environment. Racing, very fast pace. You know, the marketing business, the advertising business I had was very fast paced. I come back after 20 years to this sole proprietorship family business. You couldn't have more opposite, you know, situations. And so I am guilty of coming back, when I first came back, of kind of saying, no, this has to change, and this has to change, and that has to change, and so on. And it was all about love and respect for the business. But what I didn't realize is that I had to change myself. And the fast-paced environment of racing wasn't really going to settle for people in a sole proprietorship, my family and our employees and so on. They kind of referred to me as the Taz, that Tasmanian devil that kind of goes around. And of course, I had lots to say. And as I said earlier, when you're the SOB, people sort of have to listen whether they, appreciate what you're saying or not. They never say. And I think you've run across that too. So the challenge for me was to learn how to reinvent myself. Again, family businesses and all the drama that takes place with those, I think you've learned that as well. How did I do that? Well, actually, Ann Arbor is a hotbed for things like counseling and focus groups and that sort of stuff. So it was up to me to learn how to, be a softer, gentler, remember that term? Howdy, as opposed to the race car driver. And that made a huge difference. Because over the years in our company, now that I've been there for 25 years, I was sharing with some people at the VIP reception that every one of our departments, we have 27 different departments, and every one of our departments has their own behavior expectations that they put together on their own. And of course, we have a set of corporate behavior expectations, but I think this is another hallmark of family businesses. People look for employees based on their behavior, not so much their tasks, okay? And they learn that you can't think your way into acting, you have to act your way into thinking. Now we're all, when it comes to evaluating ourselves, we all do so with our hopes and our intentions. But the rest of the world evaluates us by our actions, okay? And the atmosphere in family businesses are sort of calmer, more subdued, but much more passionate. And that rubs off on employees. And I don't know, how many family businesses that are here today that have, many more employees than shareholders, but I would guess it probably would be most of you. And I bet you that most of the employees that work for you say that you are very benevolent, caring employees. And that's something that, we have to keep going forward with. So the opportunity for me to change was, I would say, life-changing in the sense that now this, I should share, this is the calm Howdy, okay? Yeah. The race car driver guy, I would have been talking at about 350 words per minute and all kinds of things. But I just want to, I'm getting the 5-minute mark, so I want to share a couple of things that I've learned, and maybe there'll be a takeaway from you. And I like to use cliches, and one of them is that you don't think your way into acting. You act your way and think, well, what does that mean? That means it doesn't matter what you say to anybody that matters. It's what you do that makes the difference, okay? And the other thing is that patience is something that is difficult to develop. Having been through it myself from, a very extreme fast-paced world to a slow-paced world, it didn't come easy. I mean, no one likes change, right? Change is good. You go first. Change is good. You go first. Nobody likes change, but we have to change if we want to continue. This world is going so fast that don't get caught so passionate in your business that you forget to sort of climb a tree every now and then and figure out where magnetic north is. That's one of the things that takes family businesses down. You get so enthralled with what you're doing, so passionate about what you're doing, that we don't look around and see that things are changing. Family businesses, like any other business, need to change. And the last thing I want to leave you with is that we are the backbone of this great United States of America. And it is people like ourselves, family businesses, that make this country great. So don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. And thank you very much. God bless you. I appreciate it.